Right.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome. You are here for how to save 10 hours a week at work with AI. My name's Albert. I am the founder of Albert's List, and I'll be your co-host today. And with me is Eric, an AI instructor who will introduce himself shortly. Or those of you who are here for the very first time, welcome to this webinar. Please use the webinar chat or the Q&A function to ask your questions. This webinar will also be recorded and it will be sent to you within probably a few days of it being available. Uh, for those of you who are here, welcome to this webinar. As you know, AI has taken the world by storm. We all use AI in some form or fashion today, and it's also become a lot more popular as companies and people look to make their workers more efficient. If you're somebody who's currently working and would like to see how AI can help you with your day-to-day job, we would love for you to join us for this webinar where you're already here and see how that works. And so we'll be talking about that today, as well as a 2-hour course that will be occurring in a couple of weeks' time that you can also attend where you can dive deeper into AI with us and really turbocharge your efficiency. So without further ado, Eric, over to you.
Thanks, Albert. Appreciate the introduction and providing this platform to share the work I've been doing in AI. Let me get my deck going here. Just to share a little bit about myself, my name is Eric Forst, and I started my career running corporate marketing departments. And then in 2007, I was really lucky to get hired as the first salesperson for a company called Visible Technologies, which was one of the first companies in the world that was using AI to do social media sentiment analysis. And so I've been very lucky to have been working in the AI industry for almost 17 years now. And I'm very excited to share with you today some of the tips and tricks and best practices that I've learned along the way in my journey with AI. And just like many of you, I've been using ChatGPT extensively since it came out at the end of 2022. And I've got a couple of startups listed at the bottom here, Bloxy and Pangea Social, as well as WeHeartSF, which is a group that meets at the House of Web3 in the Presidio in San Francisco. And we work on how we can use blockchain and AI to work on San Francisco's greatest challenges, including the homeless problem. Building custom GPTs is something that we're going to prepare you for, which we're going to dive into deeply in that 2-hour workshop in a couple of weeks. But to prepare you for that workshop today, what I wanted to do was teach you how to save 10 hours a week at work with AI just by building better prompts. And then when you add custom GPTs to your workflow, that number can go even higher. So let's get started. Please feel free to chime in on the chat if you have any questions along the way, and we'll do our best to answer them. And Albert, if you notice new questions coming in and I'm not getting to it, please ping me. So what we're going to go over today is AI transformation. So this is not just a tool. I think many people, you might have heard this, where AI is more like fire or electricity in terms of the transformational impact it is having on our society and the way that we do work. So to help you embrace this transformation and feel like you are in control of AI and that it is not controlling you, which is how we should all hold our relationship with AI. Prompt mastery is the key. And so I'm going to give you the basics of engineering amazing prompts that will unlock AI's full potential. And I'm going to give you a preview of custom GPTs. Many people have the Plus subscription, the $20 a month subscription to custom GPT, and have never taken advantage of custom GPTs that you can build in the Plus version of ChatGPT. So we're going to give you a preview of that and some of the time-saving workflows they can unlock for you. So Albert, we have another poll. What's your biggest challenge at work? Are you able to launch that one? And if that poll gets fired off, Albert, you're on mute, but I'm going to assume there it is. All right, so now we have the new poll launch. As we're getting ready to move to the next slide, please fill this in. So we've got time management leading the pack right now. Looks like about 60% of you, 64% are saying time management, and then content creation is next with around 17%. Email management is there. If you can put in the chat for other, we've got about, we've got 4 or 5 of you listing other. We'd love to hear just in the chat what some of those workflows are. But by far, it's time management. And so I think that for certain, you're going to get some tips and insights today that will help you with that. So let's get going. Let's look at the next slide. Um, so AI, what is it? Many of you know that it works on inference, that it's basically an inference engine that's based on, trained data and ChatGPT and other models like Claude Sonnet and Llama have been trained with vast amounts of data, as much of the internet as they could find. Thousands and thousands of books and newspapers are all in there. And basically, what AI is it's really just a great pattern matcher. It just finds patterns in text and it generates the most relevant response to the queries that you give it. And I love this definition at the top from Nishema Thompson that AI works based on inference, not expertise or experience. So while AI seems really smart, it's actually really dumb when it comes to the real world and really understanding how people think and what makes things go around, what makes things work. And so one of the things that is so amazing about building custom GPTs is it's a way to really imbue your experience with ChatGPT or Claude or the other models as well with your experience and your expertise by imbuing the chat sessions that you have with your expertise and experience. We'll look at how to do that later in this. So why AI? Why now? AI equals productivity on autopilot. So those of you who are looking for time-saving tips, you've come to the right place. But remember, this is a sensitive platform. And while it seems like it gives you great results when you just write natural prompts, which it's designed to do, it is garbage in, garbage out. So the quality of the prompt drastically impacts the output and the results that you get. So better prompts equal better AI responses. And so I want to help all of you streamline your processes, uncover new possibilities, and save time. So let's get started with the basics of writing great prompts. It really starts with something called a zero-shot prompt, which is just giving it the most basic, shortest description possible. For example, write me a product description for a coffee mug. It doesn't get much more basic than just giving it the basic task. And that sometimes is an excellent prompt because what happens when you give it a zero-shot prompt is the AI will get creative. It will come up with stuff that you may have not thought of before. But it will also be much more likely to hallucinate and make errors. So with a few shot prompt, for example, adding descriptions of other products that you have written descriptions for, so that it kind of understands the tone and the format, you're going to get a much better output more quickly. So let's go ahead and do an exercise. And the first thing I'd like all of you to do is just open your favorite interface. It could be ChatGPT, the free version of ChatGPT. It could be Cloud, Sonnet. It could be Venice AI. It could be, Google Gemini. It could be any of the AIs that you prefer. I'm just going to throw it here in ChatGPT. See the results that I get just using the 4.0 model. Which is included in the Plus subscription. I think they have it in the free version now. And with Plus, in addition to building custom GPTs, you get the most advanced models like O1 and O3 Mini. So here's a description of a coffee mug. It has no idea what I asked for, but it's assuming I want it for Pangea Social, one of my startups. So, it is just making stuff up. But, this might be a formatting that you like to use with the emojis, or it could be that, it has some descriptions that you like. So now let's compare that to a more robust prompt where you enhance it with examples of other descriptions that you've used in the past. I'm pasting this in the chat, so you don't have to try to read all this and type it. You can just copy and paste this out of the chat. And I'm just going to go here and click new chat because I don't want it to think about what I just gave it. I want it to start fresh. So that's something that you can do, right here by just clicking new chat as opposed to just piling things into the same chat. And here's the response that mine gives me. So now it's not making stuff up about Pangea Social, um, and it's giving me a description that looks more like the tone and length of the examples or exemplars that I gave it. So before we move, on to the next exercise, the next part of this lesson, we'd just love to compare results and compare responses. So if anyone can just share in the chat any other things that you noticed that you liked or didn't like about either of the prompts, would love to just hear some sharing, some comments in the webinar chat. More control over the output. Great. Thank you, CK. All right. Well, that's great. So yeah, it definitely gives you more control. And one of the things that I really like to stress when I'm teaching AI and helping my colleagues and friends with it is that it's really great to do trial and error every step of the way. Always try different models, different responses, and see which ones work best for you. So let's move on and kind of expand what we just looked at. And this is what I call the four-part formula for effective AI prompts. When we did the zero-shot prompt, we were really just doing step two. We were just giving it a task. But what unlocks the best results when you're doing it for work or an important project is this four-part process where you give it a role, a task, context, and that's what we did by giving it examples of outputs that we liked, and we were also giving it some format with those examples as well. We weren't giving it explicitly the word length or the tone we wanted to use, but the context of things that we like also implied the format in those examples. Can't stress enough the importance of role in generating and creating these prompts. ChatGPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. That's what GPT stands for. And the T, the transformer, is something that was invented by Google in 2017, and it uses something called an attention head or an attention mechanism to help the computer analyze all the data in the large language model that runs in something called a neural net. And so the reason giving it a role works so well is it just like the attention head is saying, you know what, you don't need to analyze all the data. That is going to use too much GPU power and we won't be able to process a result in time. We're just going to look at the most important stuff. So when you give it a role in your prompt, for example, act as a marketing expert, act as a sales professional, act as a data analyst, it's now narrowing the focus even more of all the things that GPT has to look at, and it's going to give you a more relevant result. So that is why it's always a good habit to add role when you are writing a more detailed response. And like I said, you don't need to do that every time because that short zero shot prompt can sometimes be an excellent way to get creative. So using this four-part technique, and let's all do another exercise. And you don't have to copy and paste this exact one. I'm going to put it in the chat again if you want to use this one here. But um, start, think about your business or your job or your role or your nonprofit or your volunteer or even just your hobby or your passion, and use this template. Give it a role. Have it write an email, but give it an email that's from your world, or maybe an example of an email you were trying to write today, or an email that you need to write after this webinar. And then give it some context. So tell it the purpose of the email and give it as much detail as you can around that. You don't need to make it as short as this improved prompt example here. And then also give it a format. Tell it if you want it to be, all narrative, no bullet points, or you want some bullet points or lots of bullets. The approximate length, you don't have to tell it 150 words. That's pretty short for a marketing email. But again, it's always about trial and error, testing things, For those of you who are marketers, you know how you do. We do this thing called A/B testing, where we'll try the 150 word email and compare it to the 300 word email and see which one gets better responses. Those are the kinds of things that you want to think about, and when you're uh, working with AI. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the chat just for any of you who want to use it. And here it is. And I'll give you all a minute or two um, to work on your prompts, and then we can talk a little bit about the results. So I'm going to just throw this one in here just to see what it comes up with. And, you know, one of the reasons that ChatGPT just sort of assumed that I wanted to, you know, write that product description for one of my startups is that in the settings, um, just so everyone knows, you can control whether or not you're using whether GPT is learning from all of your conversations and whether it is um, storing in memory all the chats you've had with it or not. So I choose to use that setting because it just gets better and better over time. It knows the things I like. It knows, uh, you know, the feedback that I've given it over the last couple of years in terms of how to improve its outputs. But for those of you who are really worried about security, you can turn that setting off, so you don't have to always do it that way. So who wants to share, what you're seeing um, in the email, in the prompts you created for the email that you want to create? Where to turn off the setting? Yeah, good question. I was just looking for that. They move it around so much. Used to be here. Oh, I had it blocked by my chat. So if you guys can see my screen, I'm going here in the settings, and I got there from this profile icon in the upper right corner. So here under personalization, um, this is where if you turn the memory off, it's just going to always start fresh every time you use it, and you never have to worry about the stuff that you're giving it going into the main training model. Um, so that's what's going on. And here's also a really good thing to know about this thing called custom instructions. When you are using the free version and you want to customize the way the GPT is working, um, you can create this custom instructions that you save here in the GPT, and it will use this when you enable it here at the bottom for those chats. So here's an example of, you could tell it what you want the GPT to call you. If you wanted to make sure it calls you your name or your nickname, you can tell it what you do, meaning what you want, what your job is, so that it's supporting that. What traits should the ChatGPT have? So now you're custom designing it, and anything else ChatGPT should know about you. But you can also use it just to give it more advanced instructions, and you can set the capabilities that you want it to use when you have this enabled. So just want to make sure everyone knows about this custom instructions feature in ChatGPT. Any other questions on the settings before we go on? Okay, great. And I know I see several of you have posted in the chat some of your examples. Someone posted one for boosting productivity, joining the AI webinar, quarterly business results meeting. Um, that's great. So let's pop back to the deck and go on to the next part of our lesson. All right. So now that you have the basics of writing a great prompt, we've looked at zero shot and multi-shot, and we've looked at the four-part technique of writing a great prompt. Um, I want to start introducing you to custom GPTs, which will really help you take this to the next level. So you can do things like build your own AI assistant in this world of agentic workflows that is coming this year. And when you build custom GPTs, you'll be able to start hooking those into automation, connecting your GPTs outputs to things like your CRM or your project management tools, to your emails, to all of your workflows. And that's something that we're going to be teaching later this year as these tools become more readily available. But it all starts with prompts and building custom GPTs. So with AI workflow automation, there's a sort of a sample flow chart on the left. It sort of describes what I was just talking about, which is, having flows that start with the AI outputs, and then can, um, automate many of the different processes that you're using for marketing, for sales, for administration and support. So let me show you some of the different custom GPTs that I've built and that others have built in ways that you can start to think about how you want to build your own custom GPTs. If you have a Plus subscription, or if you don't and you're in the free version, you can use those custom instructions like I just showed you by clicking on your profile and going into the settings there. So let me start with the Pangea Social blog post writer. So this is a GPT that I built for my Pangea Social startup. And when you build a custom GPT, um, what you can do is you can actually train it and give it something called a chain of thought prompt, which is what we're going to look at in the 2-hour webinar in a couple of weeks, where the AI prompts you. So when I click this prompt, let's create a blog post. What do you need from me, and what are the steps? With this custom GPT that I built, it's going to take me through this workflow process. It's going to start by asking me to define the goal of the post, helping it understand the audience that I'm trying to reach, choosing the format that I want. Do I want it to be a listicle or a how-to guide, an opinion piece, selecting the tone. So I have some tone information and style information that's embedded in this custom GPT. But if I wanted to modify it, there's an option to do that here. And then to provide additional details. So are there specific features? Is there an announcement or an event coming up that I want included in this post? And then it's going to go through this iterative drafting process, starting with working title and an outline, asking me for feedback on that. And then it's going to take me into actually writing the first draft. So you see if I can show you what that output looks like from last week. Post creation guide. Yeah, so here's one. It's using the Pangea Social blog post writer. And yeah, this is one where I was wanting it to analyze a transcript of an interview between John Avalon of Bulwark and Chris Hughes, the co-founder of Facebook, from the perspective of Pangea Social and how we help solve the problems that they discussed. So, I didn't use all of the input questions that it had defined for me. I've used this GPT enough, and it's trained enough on what I like that I knew I could just paste this stuff in. So I just copied and pasted the transcript right out of YouTube, popped it in, and now scroll down here. Now the GPT is just giving me really a great first draft that I can start to work with right out of the gate. So now, I'm saying, look, I actually don't like this. It's too salesy. Make it more of a summary of the interview and the solutions they propose, and then a short section at the end regarding the way Pangea Social addresses these problems. And now it's rewriting it for me, following the new instructions that I just gave it, with a nice how Pangea Social addresses those issues. And this was a great blog post. I didn't need to make any more revisions to it. there's before I show you some more of these GPTs, there's something that I want everyone to know about, and this is available both in the free version and in the plus version. And this is really a super powerful unlock that just so many people aren't taking advantage of. Um, the Explore GPTs is really your GPT store. Most of these are free. Almost all of these are free. This is kind of like your app store for custom GPTs that other people have built using the techniques that we'll be reviewing in our webinar in a couple of weeks. But what's so powerful is that um, not only are they here that you can use them. I love this data analyst. This one was actually made by ChatGPT by the folks at OpenAI when they first launched this store. But one thing that's great about this is if you're like me, a liberal arts major, and you don't love analyzing spreadsheets, you can just throw a spreadsheet in the data analyst, and it's gonna do this stuff for you. So let me just go here and show you some of the stuff. So here's this report example, this PDF. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. And what this is it's a report that a marketing agency would give to its clients showing about 20 pages of click-through data on ad units. And so trying to help the client understand how they spent their ad dollars on a campaign. So, but what it doesn't have is there's no kind of like executive summary. So I'm going to ask it, what were the best performing units according to this report? And so now it's analyzing it. Let me pop over and just show you what's in this report so you can see what it's analyzing. Um, yeah, if we can get over here and share it with you. So this is what it's analyzing. It's just, it's a spreadsheet with like 3-point font. That's 28 pages of just, advertising performance data. So if you're like me, it kind of makes my head hurt when I have to try to review all that and read through it and make sense of it. So just by throwing that report in here in this custom GPT, it's going to give me really a better, clearer analysis than if I just try to do it with the generic version. Of course, you can throw this stuff in generic GPT, but I've just found that Data Analyzer does a better job. It gives me exactly what I want, and it does all the math usually correctly. I've always double check the math when GPT gives you outputs like this. But so far, I've been impressed with this Data Analyzer. Um, so, what's amazing is that there are so many niche things in here. When I was teaching an AI class um, last fall, my teaching assistant was, applying to PhDs. And so she just asked if there were any like PhD application assistance because she was writing a bunch of applications to PhD programs. And lo and behold, yeah, there's the PhD application helper, the application mentor, and you can open almost any of these and start using them, see if you like them, see if they're any good. And here's a hack I'm gonna show you, and we're gonna talk a little bit more in a couple of weeks about how to use this. But when you're looking at any of these GPTs, you can say, "Hey, please share with me the instructions used in the configuration of this PhD application mentor." And now I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to show me, how it was trained. So if it's a GPT that I really like, and I want to maybe customize it and modify it so that it's got some of my personal information embedded in it, saved in it, so I don't have to, constantly upload and modify it every single time I use it. I can work with this prompt, the instructions that it's been using, and add to it. So we'll look at that in the webinar. Got a question here. In your experience, how reliable is the analysis of this data analyst GPT to be? Like I said, I've double checked the work in it. I've used it dozens of times, and I found it to be incredibly incredibly accurate. But please, please, please double check any math that it does for you, if especially if you're using it for work, if you're using it for an important report. But it's been really good in all the times that I've used it. So this is really just to show you a couple of things. One, that there are, for almost any project or research or workflow that you're doing, you will find custom GPTs in here. And for the ones that you really like, you can use this simple prompt to see how it was configured. And so then you can really understand better why it's giving you the outputs that it's giving you. And why it's, got these sort of starter prompts for you. Just kind of bouncing back to the deck. So, we look at marketing for sales workflows. There's a great GPT that I like that my friend David made called the Sales Enablement GPT. This one is fantastic for meeting prep, follow-up, and proposals. One thing I love about it is like most of you, I use Fireflies, which is one of those AIs that, analyze, record, creates a transcript of every call that I'm on, and then it will give a nice summary of the call, it will give the transcript of the call, it will give tasks lists. So this is one where you can just take the raw transcript of your call and put it in here, and it's gonna, or it's asking for these details. So I'm just gonna give it the transcript. So let me just upload a transcript of the last sales call I did, and it's gonna analyze this PDF, and I'll just say, here's the transcript, and that's really all you need to give this one. And now it's gonna, use the configuration that it has to summarize the meeting. So this is like a great alternative to using Fireflies or Otter. So if you don't want to pay for a subscription for one of those, you can just record your calls, get the transcript, and throw it in a GPT like this one, um, and or teach or create your own, and then you'll get all the same stuff that you would get out of Fireflies or Otter. What was the name again here, Laura? I'm not sure which name you're asking for. If you can clarify that. Um, and then DL is saying, I've found ChatGPT to invent info during content creation that makes the outputs more and more inaccurate. I've had to go around circles, giving it feedback to revise the output. What's your experience on this? Yeah, like I was saying before, um, when you don't give it enough information and context and details and roles in your prompt, it's much more likely to hallucinate and give you inaccurate information. So if you follow that four-part prompt format that I gave you, you're gonna see way less inaccuracy and whatever, let's call it creativity or hallucinations in the outputs that you get from it. What was the name again for the phone calls? It was called it. You can see right here, right here, any GPT that you're using, the name of it shows up here in this upper left corner. This is called a sales enablement GPT. So you can search the GPT store for other sales enablement GPTs. It might not be this exact same one that I use, but you'll find other ones in there. Um, all right, so that is giving you a preview of kind of how this is fantastic for sales workflows. For administration, auto summarizing emails and managing schedules. There's one that I like that's a project planner GPT, Project Planner Pro. This is another one that my friend David made where it starts with this prompt: let's plan my project. What are the steps and what do you need from me to begin? So, again, this is, using what's called chain of thought prompt design. And this is something we're going to look at, but this is giving you a detailed step-by-step process and then telling me exactly what it needs for me to plan my project, the project name, the key activities, timeline, resources. And then what's so great is the way this is configured is that it gives me a project blueprint, which is, designed like a professional project manager would do it. So when you use these custom GPTs that others have made or that you build for yourself, it's like getting the power of a marketing consultant or project management consultant, who's just there as a co-pilot along with you, helping you do the work. And and then for support for AI chatbots for FAQs, in the class that I did last fall, one of the students, Frankie, he has a startup where he has this exercise equipment that he built that goes in your door. It's like goes in the door jamb, and it has like, 8 different heights that you can set a dowel rod for all these different exercises, push-ups and dips and inversions and stuff. And so he had a detailed technical manual that he uploaded into his custom GPT, and it just created an amazing customer, the big, what he can use as the core of a customer service chatbot that he can put on his website. And so there's you know chatbot softwares, free and paid, that anyone can find. But again, like just like any AI, you want to put a great configuration and a great prompt into it. So Frankie had been able to experiment with that using a custom GPT, and now he's going to have an amazing FAQ chatbot for his site. Because what he found with his custom GPT is it was great. Not only would it ask any question you had about the equipment and how it worked, but um, but he found that it was also just coming up with really creative like workout plans and creative ways that customers could use the product that he hadn't even thought of. So that's kind of an overview of AI for workflow automation and an introduction to custom GPTs. Um, just want to leave you with some thoughts before we wrap up today, and just kind of open it up to a general Q&A for until we get to the top of the hour. It's important to remember that AI will not replace you, but someone using AI might. And I sincerely believe that almost every job in this economy is going to require you to use AI for at least 25% of your job. Um, Certainly, it's changing the types of jobs that are available. I mean, Salesforce just announced for the first time they're not hiring any new computer programmers, and fortunately, one of the most, ironically, one of the jobs that's being the most impacted in terms of layoffs or not hiring new people is actually computer scientists, computer engineers, computer programmers. How do we create AI agents using ChatGPT? So that's a future webinar. But the way it works is it starts by building a custom GPT. After you build a custom GPT, you can get an API key out of your ChatGPT Plus subscription, the $20 a month subscription, and then you can use that API with a workflow tool like Zapier, and you can start to create agentic workflows using that. Um, there's a platform out there right now called um, Agent AI. And for those of you who have HubSpot accounts, this is a really easy way to start building agents now. And it was created by one of the co-founders of HubSpot. So you can start building agents here in agent.ai and have them hook into your HubSpot. So I would say for now, this is a way to do it. In ChatGPT, in the Plus subscription, they're starting to build the framework for agents just within ChatGPT. So they have this thing called scheduled tasks. So now the GPT will just do different workloads that you give it at scheduled times. So again, this is starting to get into the beginning of how agents are going to work. And when you go into the custom GPTs that you build, um, you're going to find um, advanced configurations in there that start to allow your GPTs to turn into agents. So it's going to be an exciting year. OpenAI is planning to roll out a full agentic framework that you'll be able to use just within ChatGPT. But certainly, like with Agent.ai, there's ways you can start building these things right now, and you don't have to wait. Um, and with tools like Replit, which Albert had mentioned earlier, you can actually build entire apps, just even if you don't know how to code, including apps that start to build those agentic workflows for you. So this was, most of what I had to cover today. Like I said, please feel free to post any questions or comments in the chat. We'll hang out here for another 5 or 10 minutes to field any questions you have. But I want to encourage all of you to join our AI bootcamp. on March 11th from 3 to 5 p.m. This is going to be a live workshop where I'm going to go into detail on the custom GPT workflow. We're going to look at how to build those advanced prompts using chain of thought so that it will, guide you or any of your colleagues if you want to share your GPTs with your colleagues or coworkers or friends, guide them through that chain of thought process, through that step-by-step process. And by the end of this 2-hour workshop, everyone in the class should have a fully completed custom GPT that you're able to start using. Um, that's my commitment to those of you who sign up for this. And there's a special offer, Albert. I don't know if you had a chance to drop the link in the chat yet, but we're giving everyone who's on this call today a discount. Instead of $99, Albert, what is it? I think is it 67? Is that the
67.
discount?
Yep. 67.
67. Perfect. So for $67, um, anyone who wants to spend 2 hours with me on March 11th, learning how to build really robust custom GPTs, would love to have you in the workshop.
Cool.
So that is what I've got. And let's see, are we getting any more
You were so
uh,
good. Somebody
messages in the chat?
pre-recording.
What's that?
You were so good. Somebody thought this was a pre-recording.
That's great. That's great. Thanks. I had a lot of practice. We did this once before, Albert, last week.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um,
Yet a question was, what do you think of tools like Motion, and are there other tools you recommend?
oh, that's a great question. One of my favorite tools, just to give you all some, oh yeah, and please feel free to connect with me. All of you, you can scan this QR code and connect with me. You can schedule a call with me if you'd like to learn about my various consulting services that I offer. One of my favorite tools, I haven't used Motion, but this is the best tool that I have found to create um, PowerPoints, to create presentations or one sheets. This is by far the best app that I found. I've made, you can see here, dozens and dozens of decks with this thing. It is so good. You can just start, create new from AI. You can start new from blank, which is what I usually do. And I have some uh, best, some actually, this is the one I usually start from. I go paste in text, and I've got some prompts that I've created that just make amazing first drafts of decks. So that's another one that you all can think about and use. What are the tools used in the webinar? Would I need any subscriptions? Yes, it would really be best if you bought the $20 ChatGPT Plus subscription for the class. That would really be all you would need. It's the $20 a month subscription. And that's it. Uh, Thanks, Eric. The customizations and settings and custom bots in ChatGPT or something I'll definitely be getting familiar with. All right, Lindsay, I'm glad that that was helpful for you. Um, is there a prerequisite for this next webinar to have value, or would this be valuable for someone starting out? There's really no prerequisite. We'll do a quick review on this 4-part prompt again in the class. So for anyone who wasn't able to join today, um, we'll definitely do a quick review of what we learned. No worries. And Albert, we might even be able to share this recording with folks who sign up, just anyone who wants to
Yeah.
do a little prep, right? So certainly we could share this with all the folks who sign up if they weren't able to join, today's webinar or next week's, or the one we had last week, excuse me. And I'll just leave this here on the screen for any of you who want to copy that QR code with your phone, and you'll see a little link tree that I have, a little bit.ly link tree where you can connect with me, um, see some information about some of my startups. What else do we got in the chat? This session was worth every minute. Thanks, CK. Glad you liked it. Which automation platforms would you recommend? Yeah, Zapier is the main one that I've worked with. I haven't really worked with others, but I would highly recommend it. It works great. What are my thoughts on Claude? I love Claude when I want the writing to just kind of be at the next level, I find that I haven't been able to do the same level of configurations with it that I can with OpenAI, and so I've just sort of tended to use ChatGPT as my default. But Claude Sonnet, I know many other marketers and creators swear by it as a much better creative writer. So those are my thoughts on Claude. Would love to hear yours. Thanks, Martha. I'm glad it was useful for you. Um, let's see. All right. Albert, what do you think? Stay on a few more minutes.
Yeah, let's ask a few more questions. What is your
Cool.
opinion on Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, etc., given the price point?
Great question. So I think that Gemini is worth it for a business where you have um, a lot of employees who are all using the Google Business Suite. What's really nice about Gemini, actually, let me share this, and I just need to open. I think I have it in my Pangea email. So Pangea is one of my startups, and so when you have Google Gemini, what it will do, and this is the same as if you're using Microsoft Copilot, which is basically just OpenAI embedded um, in the Microsoft 365 suite. Uh, what happens is that you have the Google Gemini logo here. So you can ask Gemini, like in an email, when I go to compose email, it becomes an embedded assistant that's just right there in the platform, which is kind of nice. So, I can just, use AI right here. It pops up as a sidebar, and I can just ask it for whatever app I'm in whether it's, Gmail or Slides. Here it is in Slides. Right here is the Gemini icon. So now I have it as this um, assistant that will co-create with me in this deck, and it will give me a rewrite for this slide if I want it to, or it will, give me a summary slide. It will just build right into the presentation. That's a nice advantage of Gemini, and that's mostly where I use it. Also, sometimes if I'm doing, I still use Google to just do my searches, a lot of just basic searches, and Google Gemini will often just be the first response you see if you have that enabled just in your regular Google searches. Uh, so that's my thoughts on Google Gemini. Um,
Are you using AI in any way during this presentation, using it as a tool to let you know you've missed a topic or anything of that sort?
no, no, was just giving the presentation using my own brain. I
Excellent.
did use AI. I did use Gamma to help design the presentation. So yes, that part for sure. Sign up for the course. All right. If you're looking for other useful AI tools and websites, get SMRTR. All right, Aaron.
I'm a big fan of Body Eat Brain.
Body brain.
Bot Eat Brain.
Oh, body eats brain. Nice.
Yeah. There's my referral link too, in case anybody wants to. Not that referrals, I think, mean anything for this, but I referred 12 people to this newsletter, which is cool.
Well, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an AI newsletter. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's an AI
I'm gonna, I'm
newsletter.
gonna sign up right now.
Cool. There you go. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? All right. Well, thank you all so much then again for watching. We have recorded this webinar, so if you are here later, Thank you again for joining, and we will be following up with our video in a couple of hours. We're also just doing our 2 hour workshop here as well in a couple of weeks. Hope you can join. The link again is being dropped here in the webinar chat and will be also in the video description. In addition, we have many other Wrong link. In addition, we have many other events upcoming that you might be interested in. Please feel free to take a look on our Eventbrite page where you may have found this or the meetup group that you came from, and we will see you all again soon. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.